is surely no sport in the world more accessible, more inclusive, more ethnically diverse, and with better gender equality.
In the 6th round will take the Big 12 title and set a Big 12 meet record along the way, as good as it gets here in 2021.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
It feels good. I mean, shoot, best time in the world, right?
This is living proof that in spite of the disease that we're dealing with across the world, we're all here healthy and competing.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the president of the U.S. Track and Field and Cross Country Coaches Association, head coach at University of Houston, Leroy Burrell.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 2020 convention of the US Track and Field and Cross Country Coaches Association. It's great to be amongst each other's presence again. Our world has started to speed back to its normal pace. We are back on the tracks, the runways, the circles, and courses that we're used to being on. However, the past several months have been challenging, difficult, and emotionally draining for me, you, your athletes, our athletes, and the world at large. We charge on. Within the past month, we've suffered immeasurable losses, incomprehensible injustices, and utterly ridiculous internal pressures. But we charge on. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the personal tragedy my son, my family and I lost when we lost my son, Cameron Burrell, by taking his own life a few months back. My family and I, our Houston track and field community, are deeply indebted to many of you in this room for your support and embrace that you provided us during this time. And even to this day, we still kind of receive well wishes, support, prayers, and it means a lot to me personally. But this is not about me, but I do want to take a moment to just read something that I got actually just a few moments ago, because I think this encapsulates the spirit, the combined love and concern we have for each other, and just the nature of our community. It reads this: Coach Burrell, please forgive the tardiness of this card and simple gift for the loss of your son. I know that there's nothing anyone can say or do to remove the pain. Hopefully, many a thought and prayer were made their way to heaven on your behalf, as well as your family. Not only is Cameron And not only is the Burrell family respected, it is also loved by those within the track and field community, but also around the world. I ask that you and your family accept this card and simple gift to gather together and reflect and rejoice on the pleasant and fond memories of your son, Cameron. May God continue to pour his grace, love, kindness, and understanding upon your family. You are truly an inspiration to many in this time of grief. Thank you for leading in ways that you cannot see with your own eyes. And I got this from Sheldon Pierce, a high school coach in Appling County, Georgia, Appling County High School in Baxley, Georgia, just a few hours ago, late last night. And I really appreciate that. But this really encapsulates, to me and my family, all the love and support that we receive from many of you. And I don't want to make this about me, but I feel like I have to say something. And then we'll get on about celebrating the many coaches and their accomplishments here. But from the bottom of my heart, to each and every one of you, whether you know me or not, thank you very much from the Burrells and the Houston track and field community. To that extent, it is important that we support each other. Even if we may be rivals, it's important to be grateful, to celebrate accomplishments, and it's important to consider the future. External factors will try to box us in. We need to place ourselves in a position of strength. We need to run our race and lead from the front. With that mindset and execution, we can prove that we are true leaders of the sport. We can ask the tough questions. We can use our voices and not be afraid. Among the highlights of this year's convention are a number of professional development sessions presented by Rickerton. Among the impressive speakers lineup is Arthur Bryant, a Title IX litigator. Bryant defended the sport of track and field against Clemson's attempt to drop the men's track and field and cross-country program. Michelle Meyer and Carly Tower will speak on current trends and issues concerning the new world that has come with the passage of the name, image, and likeness legislation in collegiate athletics. And Matthew Kaiser will speak on mandatory reporting best practices in the event of misconduct that may arise in our programs. Along with this dynamite lineup secured from our technical symposiums presented by Rickerton, these are excellent opportunities to develop your skills as a coach and, probably more importantly, as a leader on our campuses. This evening, we'll hold a Hall of Fame dinner and induction right here in the Mediterranean Ballroom. We'll honor the accomplishments of a distinguished group of coaching colleagues. The Mondo dinner party will be tomorrow night on the Da Vinci lawn at the Ritz-Carlton. The atmosphere will be electric with games, prizes, and giveaways. The 12th presentation of the Bowerman will put a bow on the convention on Friday evening, and we look forward to an amazing night with John Anderson hosting the event once again. Finally, please remember that meals, special events, and the convention itself can be accessed with your credential, and please have it with you at all times. Now, we turn to the awards portion of our program, beginning with the National Champion Ring Ceremony presented by Balfour. Due to the cancellation of the 2020 convention, we are recognizing championship staffs from both 2019, 2020, and 2020-21 academic years. Please join me in welcoming the championship staffs from our collegiate divisions to the stage, starting with the NJCAA.
From the NJCAA, '19 Division I Men's Cross Country National Champions, Cloud County Community College. Coaches Harry Kitchener and Drew Mahan. 2020 Division II Women's Cross Country National Champions, Cowley College. Coach Cameron Reeve. 2019 Division I Women's Cross Country, 2020 Men's Cross Country, and 2020 Men's Indoor Track and Field National Champions, Iowa Central Community College. Coaches Dee Brown, Justin Anderson, and Jafet Moliners. '21 Division I Women's Indoor Track and Field National Champions, Iowa Western Community College. Coaches Doug Marshall, Shalane Williams-Davis, Jarmus Amos, Mark Berman, and Mikhail Rodell. '20 Division III Women's Cross Country National Champions, Joliet Junior College. Coach Jeff DeGraw. 2019 and 2020 Division III Men's Cross Country National Champions, Mineral Area College. Coach Steve Davis. 2020 Division I Women's Indoor Track and Field National Champions, New Mexico Junior College. Coaches Keith Blackwell, Jeff Becker, and Tabari Henry. '20 Division I Women's Cross Country National Champions, Ranger College. Coach Kathy Graham. 2021 Men's Indoor Track and Field, Women's Indoor Track and Field, and 2021 Division I Men's Outdoor Track and Field National Champions, South Plains College. Coaches Eric Vance and Wes Miller. From the NAIA, 2021 Men's Outdoor Track and Field National Champions, Doane University. Coaches Ed Fye, Brad Jenny, Ryan Dorsthurst, Dustin Llewellyn, and Zach Lurs. '20 Women's Indoor Track and Field National Champions, Huntington University. Coaches Joel Childs, Lauren Davenport Johnson, Hannah Wapps, and Cassie Smith. '21 Men's Indoor Track and Field, 2021 Women's Indoor Track and Field, and 2021 Women's Outdoor Track and Field National Champions, the Indiana Institute of Technology. Coaches Doug Edgar, Alex Kolutke, and Austin Rourke. '19 Women's Cross Country and 2021 Men's Outdoor Track and Field National Champions, Madonna University. Coaches Stacy Latney and Patrick Daughtry. 2020 Women's Cross Country National Champions, the University of St. Francis of Illinois. Coaches Jeff Barker, Jeff Chappell, Trevor Howard, and Amy Probst-Holmes. '20 Men's Indoor Track and Field National Champions, William Carey University. Coaches Blake Hegstrom, Malcolm Diaz, and Ryan McKenzie. From NCAA Division III 2019 Women's Cross Country National Champions, Johns Hopkins University. Coaches Bobby Van Allen, Shedrick Elliott III, and Mara Kinstout. '19 Men's Cross Country National Champions, Pomona Pitzer Colleges. Coaches Jordan Carpenter and Kyle Flores. '21 Men's Outdoor Track and Field National Champions, Wartburg College. Coaches Marcus Newsom and Ryan Chapman. From NCAA Division II 2019 Women's Cross Country National Champions, Adams State University. Coaches Damon Martin and Sadie Baker. '21 Men's Indoor Track and Field National Champions, Ashland University. Coaches Ernie Clark and Jacob Sussman. '21 Women's Outdoor Track and Field National Champions, Azusa Pacific University. Coaches Jack Hoyt, Andrea Blackett, and Sean Smith. '21 Women's Indoor Track and Field and 2021 Men's Outdoor Track and Field National Champions, Grand Valley State University. Coaches Jerry Baltas and Ronaldo Radlin. From NCAA Division I, 2019 Women's Cross Country and 2021 Women's Indoor Track and Field National Champions, the University of Arkansas. Coach Lance Harder. 2019 Men's Cross Country National Champions, Brigham Young University. Coach Ed Eyestone, picking up for the award on program's behalf, Diljit Taylor. And 2020 Women's Cross Country National Champions, Brigham Young University, Coach Diljit Taylor. '21 Men's Outdoor Track and Field National Champions, Louisiana State University. Coaches Dennis Shaver, Benny Brazel, Houston Franks, Boo Schnecksteiner, and Andy Ponce de Leon. 2020 Men's Cross Country National Champions, Northern Arizona University. Coach Mike Smith. And 2021 Women's Outdoor Track and Field National Champions, the University of Southern California. Coaches Carol Smith-Gilbert, Quincy Watts, and Jebri Harris.
All right, now I didn't realize this was going to be this much work now. Let's have another round of applause for our national championship coaches. Now it's time to present the association's Jimmy Carnes Distinguished Service Award. The award, named for former association executive director Jimmy Carnes, is presented to individuals who have gone above and beyond the call of duty in their service to the association and to the sports of cross country and track and field. Now on stage is the USTFCCCA CEO, Sam Seams, to present the award. The recipient of this year's award is Mike Mead of Clayton State University. Mike, would you come forward, please? Mike has held many roles in the association over the years. He's currently the association's chair of the NCAA Division I Executive Council and is an at-large member of the board of directors. Mike has also held the position of president of the NCAA Division II Cross Country. At the NCAA level, Mike served on the NCAA Division I Track and Field and Cross Country Sport Committee and as the chair of the NCAA Track and Field's Cross Country Rules Committee, among other important roles. Please join me again in honoring the 2021 recipient of the Jimmy Carnes Distinguished Service Award, Mike Mead.
Well, thanks for the recognition. It was kind of unexpected, surprise. You don't think about it when you put a little sweat equity in, but it's been a rewarding, and I'm humbled by receiving this award. Having met Jimmy in the early years as we were evolving this organization, and I think I even learned recently that I ran against his son in college back in the earlier days. So again, I appreciate the recognition and the honor, and look forward to continue to serve our well-deserved body. Thanks.
Congratulations, Mike, and thank you again for your many years of service. Next, we will present the association's National High School Coach of the Year Awards, presented by the United States Marine Corps. The Marines have this special message to share. You don't just join the Marines, you become one. Ours is a noble path and demanding journey reserved for those with willingness to engage and the determination to defeat all mental, moral, and physical requirements to become a Marine. In or out of uniform, it's the fighting spirit found inside every Marine that leads them to victory. The United States Marine Corps recognizes the role of coaches who inspire, that fighting spirit in their student athletes. We are therefore proud to sponsor these High School Coaches of the Year. To learn more about partnering with the Marines in your local community, please visit the website connect.marines.com. Now it is my pleasure to welcome to the stage Sergeant Jonathan Carter. And please join me in a round of applause for Sergeant Carter for his service to our country. Sergeant Carter will present trophies to the National High School Coaches of the Year for the years 2019, 2020, and 2020-21 seasons. Our first honoree, the 2019 National Boys Cross Country Coach of the Year from Thousand Oaks, California, Newberry Park High School, Sean Brosnan. The Panthers of Newberry Park roared to a 51-point margin of victory to win the 2019 CIF Division II Cross Country Championship. At the Nike Cross Country Nationals, his squad topped rival Great Oak by 4 points for the team title. Congratulations. The 2020 National High School Coach of the Year for Girls Track and Field from Cary, North Carolina, Panther Creek High School, Paul Scruggs. Panther Creek won back-to-back state outdoor titles in 2018 and 19. They added an indoor title to their haul in 2020. They scored in 8 of 10 events entered and won by 11.5 points. Congratulations, Coach. The 2020 Boys Track and Field National Coach of the Year from Hoover, Alabama, Hoover High School, Devin Hine. Hoover has won 11 state titles since 2013, including the 2020 Class 7A Indoor Crown. Hoover qualified athletes in 14 finals and scored in 12 for the title. The 2020 girls, I'm sorry, I don't have a break here. Congratulations, Coach. Hey, you'll learn if you put it in front of me, I'm gonna read it, all right? The 2020 Girls National Cross Country Coach of the Year from Boise, Idaho, Boise High School, Erin Olswanger. Boise High School made quick work of its first 3 meets and earned the #2 national ranking from Mile Split. From there, they continue to crush the competition, including a district title by 68 points and a near-perfect 18-point total at states. The 2020 National Boys Cross Country Coach of the Year from Montpelier, Vermont, Union 32 High School, Andrew Tripp. "15 points. That's all it took for the Raiders to cap the dream season at the 2020 Vermont Cross Country Championships. They swept the top 7 with only a 9-second spread. Congratulations, Coach. The 2021 National High School Coach of the Year for Girls in Track and Field from Scotch Plains, New Jersey, Union Catholic High School, Mike McCabe. The Vikings scored 189 points, won 5 individual event titles, and swept the relays to win the 2021 New Jersey state title. Congratulations, Coach. And finally, the 2021 Boys Track and Field National Coach of the Year, and a former student athlete of mine who beat me to a Coach of the Year award from Houston, Texas, and Summer Creek High School, Shelton Urban. With 5 entries in the Texas 6A State Championship, Urban's Bulldogs won 3 individual event crowns and added a runner-up finish in the 800. The Bulldogs cemented their second title in program history with a second-place finish in the 4x4 relay. She couldn't join us today, but I would like to give mention to the 2019 Girls Cross Country High School Coach of the Year, Kelly Bia of St. Michael Indian School in Arizona. Please join me once again to congratulate the National High School Coaches of the Year from the past 2 years. State and national awards for the 2020 high school cross country season will be announced in January. Congratulations, coaches. Now it's my pleasure to welcome our keynote speaker, Bob Greifeld. Bob is the co-founder of North Island, a venture capital firm, and chairman of Virtu Financial Incorporated. He is also the former CEO and chairman of the board of directors for Nasdaq, leading it to incredible heights over his 14-year tenure. In addition, Bob is the founder and chairman of the USATF Foundation, which supports emerging athletes in inner-city youth athletics. Under his guidance, the USATF Foundation provided 115 athletes with grants totaling more than $2.4 million in 2014. My son Cameron had the benefit of receiving one of those grants. Bob was obviously destined for greatness because he was a collegiate cross-country and track and field athlete at Iona College, obviously, in New Rochelle, New York. Please give a warm USTFCCCA welcome to Bob Greifeld.
Thank you, Leroy. So I'm, I guess, standing between lunch and you, right? So I should be quick? No? So, you know, in my life, I've traveled a lot, and typically in the morning, I go to the hotel gym. And when you go to a hotel gym, there's a few motivated people there, and they typically are on the elliptical bike or the stationary bike, and they're doing what I call an almost workout, right? They get to say they did something in the gym, but nobody's really working too hard, myself included. So this morning, I go down to the gym, I walk in, I see a score of young, fit people. And they're pumping big iron, they're maxing out their heart rate. And I found it slightly intimidating and slightly uncomfortable, right? So I'm there, and I look to the right of the gym, and I see, okay, there's the elliptical, and there's a stationary bike. And on one of the stationary bikes, there's a man of a certain age, and he's pedaling softly, really quite softly. I notice he's actually talking to the person next to him more so than working out. And it made me a lot more comfortable being in that gym. So I want to thank Vin Lanana for making me comfortable in the gym this one. Thank you, Vin. So it's obviously my pleasure to be here today, and I want to thank Leroy and Sam for this wonderful invitation. And they give me some direction in terms of what to talk about, and they wanted me to deliver a certain message. So to the extent you don't like what I say, just blame Leroy, Sam, and Vin, not myself. But Leroy touched on it in his comments, and that is you had Clemson and certain other colleges were talking about curtailing certain sports, and obviously the one that we love, track and field and cross country. Now, I've served on the board of Iona College, and I'm currently on the board of New York University, NYU, so I have some perspective from that point of view, but most of what I'm going to say is what I've learned just from being around and paying attention. So I always think that the first thing you have to do is understand the context in which we operate. And once you have the context, then everything will fall into place. So I'm going to start with my first question for the audience. In what year did college enrollment peak in the United States of America? Anybody have a guess? I can't. No, 2010, 2011. You know, probably as a percent, you're probably more right, Sam, but in terms of pure numbers, we peaked in 2010, 2011, and we're in a gradual decline after that. A second point I want to make in terms of context is between 1985 and 2018, the last time we have reliable data, the college cost rose at what percent of inflation in that period of time? That's a tough question. So twice. So it rose 497%, twice the rate of inflation. So I would say this to this audience: I don't know any business that would have their cost factor increase by twice the rate of inflation over that period of time that could survive, right? So colleges will have to deal with that factor. And clearly with the inflationary pressures we have in the overall economy today, that's clearly an issue. I'm going to give you a third question. What do these companies have in common? Google, Costco, Whole Foods, Hilton, Apple, IBM, Bank of America, Chipotle, Lowe's, Starbucks. They do not require a college degree for jobs that used to require a college degree. So coming out of WW2, obviously the path to the middle class and beyond was to get a college education, and it became a requirement for a lot of employers that you had a BA in that situation. So you see, led by the tech companies, that is breaking down. And my personal story there was in the 90s, I was a software entrepreneur. I hired a young man, he was an intern, he was going to Princeton during the school year, and we put him to work. He was a coder, and he went on to a very successful career after that. And you know, I'm a month or two in, and I said, I'd like to hire you full time. Because at that point, you know, the Princeton degree wasn't going to do anything to make him a better coder. He already had the skills. I do remember getting a call from his father like 2 days later, using some choice curse words, because this was the kid was from Oregon. This was the family's dream to send him to an East Coast Ivy League school. And he said, if you talk to my son about that one more time, I'm coming over there. So he did go on and finish his degree. But that was kind of, to me, the first point. You look at the fact that the sanctity of the college degree lessens over time. So with that being the context, right, if you're the college president, you have to sit down and ask yourself with greater intensity, and the same obviously at the board level, what is the return on investment I'm delivering for my students and for the parents? And this question, the other factor I didn't mention, obviously during the pandemic, we saw a growth in businesses operating obviously in a Zoom environment, where colleges have to operate in that. So clearly it'll be a plus for the online college experience coming forward. And if you think about Facebook branding and Meta, and we're all going to be living in the Meta universe within the generation, that has strong ripples to what's going to go on. So the boards and the college presidents have to think about this, and one thing I can guarantee you this: if the college president and the board has to think about it, it's going to come down to you, right? That pressure, that question will come down to the track coaches. What return are you delivering to the students? Now, in the business world, we deal with concepts to guide our thinking, such as internal rate of return, IRR, such as WACC, you know, weighted average cost of capital, multiple on invested capital. So those measurements are good for business. They don't really translate fully to the academic world, but still the basic concept has to be there and something that we have to ask about. And obviously one of my points here is that question is not going to lessen, but it's going to increase in intensity as the years go on. So what I'm doing now is basically defining the problem. And I've been in many speeches where then I can walk up the stage and say, this is the problem. You have to provide a return on investment back to the community. Identifying the solution is the harder part. I'm going to be a little bit foolish and try to give you my thoughts on what some of the possible solutions will be with respect to what we're facing. And again, I think there is good news here. So I actually think when you think about what we deliver, right, it will be a net benefit to the community in which you people operate in. So I would put it this way in terms of the context that I operate. So when I was CEO of a large public company, you quickly realize that you're only going to be as successful as your team is. Does that sound familiar? Do you think about that? So you need the athletes there. And what we would do is we'd rank players in an ABC category. And the A players, you obviously had to give them challenges and keep them motivated to keep them at the A level. The B players, it was your job, and this is where your job really mattered, is to get them up to the A level, either by challenges, training, experiencing, coaching. And the hard fact you came to realize, and it took me a while, but you get there, is the C players are not going to ever be A players. It doesn't happen when you have fully formed adults, and you need to weed them out of the organization. And you might have heard things such as stack ranking where you work in that environment. So when I think about that world that I came from, where the A, B, C, C's go, B's have to get up to A, or they need to go, and you move along. And that was really a narrow band of performance in terms of how we can impact somebody's lives. And obviously we're trying to do it on a positive way. What to me is exciting is the people in this room have a more fundamental opportunity to influence lives than we had running corporations. And as was mentioned, I started the Track and Field Foundation, and we get more publicity because if you graduate college today and you're ranked in the top 10 and you don't have other means of support, we'll take you through the next Olympic cycle. We'll support you there. And so that's the publicity, but really my passion for starting the foundation was related to the youth athletics and primarily inner city youth athletics. And I like to proclaim loudly in this room that I was a mediocre basketball player and a slightly better mediocre runner. So I loved playing basketball, and basketball is a great game. You play 3-on-3, half court, you run full court, and you're just competing, and you have instant gratification in the basketball world. Now, the track coaches said, Bob, you got to stop playing basketball. I need you to focus on track. And I said, well, coach, you know, what are we going to do today? He said, oh, it's going to be great. We're going to run 10 quarters. We're going to get 90 seconds rest between the quarters. And if you need to puke, the barrel's right over there, right? So it's a different deal. And it really teaches in a fundamental way what is necessary to succeed in life, and that is delayed gratification. Basketball, and this is not entirely fair, but the analogy works, basketball can be about instant gratification. You want to be great in track, you want to be great in life. It always takes time. You have to learn to go through the hard days, you have to learn delayed gratification. And the theory when I started the foundation was that if you were an 8-year-old kid and you ran track for 18 till you're 18, you would be a different person than if you didn't. If you went through those workouts and that discipline and you saw yourself improve within the abilities of yourself. We also have obviously limitations. We all wish we could run 142 in the half, but that's not possible. And Leroy, what was your time in the 100 again? So I could train my whole life and be within 2 seconds of you, I guess, or something like that. So we'll see. So when you think about what you have with respect to life lessons, I highlight, delayed gratification as being something that's fundamentally important about that. But obviously you have the great opportunity, you're taking these kids in when they are kids, and you have to think about the whole kid. And I'm sure you do this, so just bear with me as I say it. And as I went through life, and we're in a couple, difficult spots, difficult decisions, I think back, and the most stress I ever had in my life was when I used to anchor the mile relay in high school, and the meet would come down to the mile relay. And back then, I came from a lower blue-collar community. None of the parents were there because they were all working. So there's literally nobody in the stands. It's just you and your teammates. And the meet is depending on the mile relay. I mean, you can't believe how stressed out you are if you're a 16 or 17-year-old kid. So, that lesson I've carried, and I use it as a mental reference point in many times. So when you think about what you can do, you can certainly, the ABC category doesn't apply here. It's about a question of life. You have the ability to really fundamentally impact an athlete on a personal level. We all remember our coaches with, I think, great fondness. Now, in terms of the practical measures, when you think about talking to the university, and this is where it helps where I'm on the board of a couple colleges, clearly I would want to compare myself to the other athletes, right, the other teams. I want to compare myself to the student population at large, and when I'm in front of the AD, I would certainly want to have this set of facts to talk to the fact that my athletes have done this, right? Whether that be I've got a higher graduation rate, I have a higher GPA, and I encourage everybody here to think about 8 or 10 other factors that really speak back to the fact that this college president is going to be under pressure, right? He cannot continue to have the costs increase with the cost of inflation. He has to compete against increasingly credible online programs that are out there. He has a declining base of students he can attract, right? We've been through the baby boomers. We're moving through the millennials, and the next subsequent generation gets smaller. So you're going to have to be the person there really, I think, delivering a strong message. So, for those of you who want to be the best coach you can, my word is that it's just going to get more holistic of how you define that in time. And there's a mention of the NILs. I mean, to me, it's the beginning of a new day. I'm not smart enough to think how that's going to play out, but certainly when this was talked about, and I was certainly in that camp, you thought about the football players and the basketball players, how much money they make from there. But whatever little data we have today certainly points us to the fact that that's going to be more democratically distributed as an opportunity. I would say the basketball player has the opportunity to sign with some big national brand, but clearly in your community, there is so much support that's available. So if I was a track coach today and thinking of this enterprise, I clearly would say I need on my staff somebody who's going to make it a revenue-generating opportunity for these kids, because it really will be pervasive. It's going to be bigger than any of us can think about right now. And I can certainly see where you have a situation where recruits are making decisions based upon how strong the NIL program is in the college, right? So we traditionally competed by the strength of the program, the other athletes in the program, the strength of the facilities, and all that, and that's there. But this, can be a massive opportunity, and certainly it's going to be one of the fundamental ways people compete, right? To do that, to allow these kids to get into, revenue producing, especially if kids who come from a situation where, money is tight, to be able to make $10, $20, $30, $40,000 a year by cleverly, using, great brand image not just of the athlete, and what I'm saying to the coaches here, you think about the branding of the school and this branding of the school in the community in which you live. This is, just a massive opportunity. So I say, I see pressures coming based upon what's happening in the macro environment, but track, I think, should stand alone as a great opportunity, a molder of men and women who allow them to succeed in the community. The concept of delayed gratification is, as I said, a wonderful life lesson. And as you think of your arsenal of tools, and as you're talking to your ADs and college presidents, to be able to outperform, like, the old saying is, I don't have to outrun the bear, I just have to outrun you. So within your college, you want to be not the program they're looking at because you've done a better job presenting that, to the administration. And clearly that will speak to what's going to be available in NILs. I know a number of colleges are right now getting on it and doing a very good job. And just, to put it in perspective, and this is not my generation, but I also know people from Instagram who just make more money than we can conceive of there. So the advertising model that we grew up with is fundamentally changing, and this NIL gives you as a team and your individuals, competitors, an ability to get ahead of that. So that's a long way from thinking about what's the best workout for the athlete, but your job gets more complex and hopefully more interesting there. So I appreciate your time. I'll take a couple questions if there are any, Sam. It's always the first question, it's a hard one, but we don't have to have any.
So, Bob, when you were at the Nasdaq, obviously, going back and reading it, went from a national company to an international company. Was that just by luck, or that was a plan because times were going to change, you've got to change, you can't stay just in the same place, you expect to be successful, or, the world changes so fast these days, is that sometimes you're trying to perfect your craft so much that you forget that, hey, that doesn't work tomorrow. You got to keep moving.
Well, yes, so I don't want to bore the audience too much, but there's a lot of things you can unpack there. So one is, what I would say is, the right answer today is by definition not the right answer tomorrow, right? So what works today should not work tomorrow. And obviously I was raised in a technology background where I expected everything to be obsoleted in a cycle there. But I also would say to investors and to management, diversification by itself is not a value, right? So you, can never diversify from weakness. You have to diversify off of strength. So the first 2 years I was there, we were in a crisis mode, so we focused on U.S. equities, got our act together in that. And then I felt ready to lift my head up and see what else was available. And so after equities, the closest thing was options. So we then focused on the options market in the US. Then you look at, okay, where can we go geographically similar to what we do? And that was Europe. So we worked with that. But in every point in time, we had to feel we're in a very strong position. And I always relate it back to, it actually wasn't Ho Chi Minh who said it, it was somebody else, 1,000 steps, a 1,000-mile march is a step at a time. So we make sure we're doing a step at a time. So my son used that quote from Ho Chi Minh, and somebody corrected him. It's not actually Ho Chi Minh who said it, but it's some, obviously, Asian fellow who said it. So you have to diversify. Like if you're strong in cross country, the easy diversification is in the long distances and track. Doesn't mean you have expertise in sprinting. So you have to do that. And I always say the simple analogy is the bowling pin. You want to go one bowling pin left or right. So I did 47 acquisitions over the 14 years and a lot of organic development. And the most successful one is when you really went half a bowling pin to the left or right. And so one of my failures was we said, okay, we're going to get into the treasury bond market because that looks like the equity market's very liquid. And everything's on screen, it's electronic, and it felt the same, but we knew we really weren't fixed income people. And the thing is, when you move into new territories, you get very bright people who come up with very great PowerPoints, and you know what you know. And their ability to consume information at a rapid rate is impressive, right? You have impressive people in the room, but you don't know what you don't know, right? So if you haven't lived the space, then it gets to be very difficult. So when you look at the NIL opportunity and you're trying to do that at the AD level or at the coach level, you say, okay, what do we know, what do we don't know? So you certainly want to start small. There are obviously a lot of people who do it in other walks of life, so you would definitely want to bring in some expertise as you build along that. So my message is you have to grow. You can't stay put. The world changes. And I would say when I was getting snarky to management is your job is no more complicated than a single-celled organism. So what the hell are you paying them a lot of money? What do you mean by that? I said, it means like, what can a single-celled organism do? It responds to stimuli, right? So you as coaches get stimuli, and it's amazing when you watch, people don't respond to stimuli. Stimuli means the world has just changed. A little bit might not mean anything today, but it keeps you keep getting the stimuli and you don't respond to it. So in technology world, you know, you kind of do that innately because, like I said, what was the right answer today is guaranteed the wrong answer 3 years from now. And if you can never rest on your laurels. But in other walks of life, it's not as fast moving, but the advice is still right. If you're not changing a little bit every day, or or not responding to stimuli, whether it be coaching methods or how to give a return to the colleges, that's going to be important. And so at NYU, I'm on the board of the business school, and not surprisingly, the business school and the law school return significant money to the coffers of the university, which they use to fund other programs which are have no ability to break even, right? And so when you have good times, that's easy to do, but I wouldn't want to be that program that's a net receiver, because if we hit a recession, bad times, you have less students, then those are the programs that get chopped, that kind of thing. So and we'll see. Change a little bit every day. Question.
I was pretty involved with the Safe Punch Network, so to your point, if we expect there to be another round of these type actions as far as cutting programs, eliminating programs, reducing programs, what can we do to be a step ahead?
Right.
If you make that assumption that's going to occur, and given economic cycles, it probably will at some point. To your point, so right. What can we do in the coaching community to be a step ahead, and also working with athletic administrators to be more symbiotic, if you will?
Yeah, I mean that's the essence of the question I'm putting on the table, because one, the college administrators, the board, they're not evil, right? Maybe they are, but they're not supposed to be. But their stimuli is they have declining enrollment. They know they can't keep increasing tuition like they have. That's untenable. So if you have a 5% budget cut or 10% budget cut, the university carries on. You want to make sure you're not in that 5 or 10%, right? So one, identification of the problem, which is what I'm trying to do today. If you're thinking about that every day, right, then you'll provide the answers better than I can in terms of what you do. And if you're not going to be in the 5 or 10%, like the business school, the law school, at NYU is not going to get cut when times get tougher, right? Hard stop, right? They're the money generators for it. So with track, it's not that easy, right? So how are you a net benefit to the society, to the community there? And as I said, I think track does a better job molding young men and young women than any other sport. And I tie it back to delayed gratification. So you can say that, but to the extent that you have data, right? There's an expression you use, especially when you're doing deals, right? We trust in God. Everybody else has to bring data, right? So you're not God. So you have data. So what have you done for these young men and women that they are outperforming the other athletic peers? on the field of battle, in the classroom, in job placements, and give back to the university over time. You have alumni from 20 years ago, hopefully they're giving back to the program. If you have a cogent description of that, that will be impactful. And then, you won't be in the 5 or 10% where they go looking there. So you can't assume that there's a God-given right that there has to be a track and field program. You have to act like, okay, we have to earn our keep, provide a return to the university over time. And certainly, I don't think I'm evil, but that's the way I would think about it. If I'm the other side of the table. So, but thinking about it, you're going to come up with better answers than I have standing here today. But just realize, the macro. I'm giving you the macro context in terms of we operate right now. Now, if we happen to take a lot of full-paying foreign students, which has been declining, that was a growth engine for colleges' revenue. The other growth engine is you have wealthy people give untold sums to the university. Their endowments. The university endowments are stronger than the operating budgets. If you remember back in 2008, 2009, Harvard couldn't fund their operating budget, and their endowment was mostly, they pioneered them in Yale using alternative assets, so they weren't that liquid, so they had a short-term liquidity. So the top schools, their endowments are really kind of ridiculous in a way there. But lacking an endowment, then, which most schools are in that situation, then the operating budget has to get balanced, every year. If you have an endowment, you have the opportunity to run a deficit, all of the federal government, and tip into it. But I think the colleges and universities are very smart, knowing that that's a very short-term strategy. You can't eat your seed corn for too long. It doesn't work there. But we'll see. And obviously, student loans, to the extent there's movement on that, positive, negative, that makes a difference, right? It's been the growth in student loans that's also allowed colleges' costs to increase, twice the rate of inflation. I can't highlight that enough. So, as I said, from the world I come from, to think of somebody, increasing their cost base, what was that, 30 years at twice the rate of inflation, you don't live that way. You can't live. So that has to change, right? So you get demographics working against the college presidents. They got to get the inflationary cost spiral under control, and then the other problem I didn't speak about. Obviously, you have declining male enrollment in colleges. There, more and more American men are saying there's a different path. I don't have to do that, so they're going to have to, do something there, I think. All right. I appreciate your time. It's a great session. Thank you.
All right, hold it now. All right, thank you, Bob, and thank you all for all you have done for the sport of track and field and the advancement of our student athletes. Real quick, and I'll promise I won't do too much here. As we close, I have a couple quick reminders. The next two conventions will be held at the Gaylord Rockies outside of Denver. We were in the office a little while ago, and we may decide to do a little Christmas caroling, because who knows, the weather very well might be frightful. And the fire will certainly be delightful. So we're looking forward to that. It'll be a nice change of pace for us here. And then we'll return back after about 2 years of that. I'm sure we'll look forward to coming back to Orlando for another event. I'm also excited to report that early next year, the association will announce the first class chosen for the USTFCCCA Collegiate Athlete Hall of Fame. Classes will be inducted in June in a ceremony that will be held in conjunction with the NCAA Division I Outdoor Track and Field Championships in Eugene. And one final reminder, please stop by the exhibit booths in the convention foyer and visit our supporters. Please reciprocate their commitment to our organization and our sport by considering them in your future purchases. They are a key element to our association's financial stability, and thank you for your support. Now it's time for lunch. Due to the forecasted rain, lunch will be served in the Coquina Ballroom. When leaving, the attendants will direct you to the ballroom, which will be on on your left as you leave. The 2021 opening session is dismissed. Thank you.